Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Slabotsky, and I would like to welcome you to tonight's webinar, Adjusting to Changes for the AP CSP exam. This is a webinar that we put together in response to what's going on out there right now as everyone is shifting to remote learning. It's a really challenging time. A lot of teachers out there are just learning how to use these remote tools, and now we need to prepare our students for this AP exam still. So what we're doing here tonight is UTeach, in response to this, has basically taken our materials and are providing them license free. So we are providing our create and performance task modules license free to all teachers to use to make sure that your students complete their performance tasks. So let's go into the agenda for tonight's webinar. First, I'm going to review the AP exam updates that are provided by College Board. This information is current as of April 2nd, 2020. Now, we're also going to go over the performance task guidelines, and I'll answer any questions that I can, common questions out there about what we should do now that our students are taking the exam remotely. We will also review the license-free materials being provided by UTeach and where you can find them and how you can use them, and then some suggestions for remote instruction. And then at the end, I'll be able to take any questions that you may have. So let's begin by talking about the changes that are coming to the AP exams, and not only the AP CSP exam, but first I want to talk about the AP CSA exam. And the only reason why I want to talk about that is don't get confused. CSA only is having free response questions. It never has no multiple choice questions. So it's just free response questions. And their exam is going to cover units 1 through 7 of College Board materials, not units 8 through 10. And the kids are just going to do free response questions remotely for the exam. So I just wanted to let you know, so do not get confused with computer science principles, and that's what you're interested in. So I'm sure you might have heard already, but let's go over it one more time. There is no end of course exam. There is no multiple choice exam. What there is going to be is the explore tasks and the create tasks are going to count for 100% of their grade. Now, the digital portfolio will remain open until May 26th, 11:59 p.m., and then that will be it. All projects must be submitted, performance task projects must be submitted by May 26th, 11:59 p.m. There is no second hand-in date, nothing like that. So that's something that's important to remember. Now, you might have some questions based on what I just told you. Now, all performance test dates are extended to May 26th. Does that mean I can now return the work that my students already did to them? So, maybe they can make it a little bit better and resubmit it for a better grade. Well, this is really interesting. And I'm just going to read you the statement that College Board has released pertaining to this topic. So, can I return tasks to students? Now, I've taught this class, so just to let you know, I understand once you submit your student work, you get that little triangle, and it means that it's submitted as final. And we're not supposed to give it back to the students unless we as teachers review it and see a really serious mistake. And what I mean by mistake is you can't give them feedback on their work. In other words, if they uploaded a PDF that was a picture of them and their friends, and it wasn't the picture of their code, you can then give it back to them and say, hey, can you check what you uploaded for your create performance task, code segment. Now, here's what College Board is saying. Teachers may only return tasks submitted as final if they have not provided individual feedback or grades on tasks. So now when I was a teacher, I never counted the create performance task for any grade in my grade book. So it was just for College Board. So during the entire process, I gave the kids no feedback on their work, which means right now, if I was teaching this course, I could actually return the work to my students if they wanted me to, even though they submitted it as final, because I did not provide feedback. Now, if you are a teacher who maybe uses the create task as a midterm grade, let's say, and you had them submit their projects to you, and then you gave them feedback and said you should have used an abstraction here, and you could have done this differently, you may not give those students their work back to work on. Okay, so please remember that. That is the statement that College Board is releasing. Now, the other question you may have is, well, how much percent is the create task and how much percent is the explore task? The create task will count as 60% of the grade. The explore task will count as 40% of the grade. Students can cancel at no charge. So that's a good thing to remember. At any moment, students can cancel and just get their money back. And I know teachers are worried about plagiarism, but please remember, you're a teacher. You don't live with these students. So here's what you need to remember. According to the course and exam description document, the CED, it says this: to the best of their ability, teachers will ensure that students understand ethical use and acknowledgement of the ideas and work of others, as well as the consequences of plagiarism. So if you have instructed, or if you want to copy page 106 of the CED and make sure your students read it and maybe sign it and send it back to you. So you just make sure that they're aware and you have made them aware of plagiarism, okay? And the consequences if they use somebody else's work and submit it as their own. College Board has also said that if any student does not have a laptop or a device to do these projects, contact them directly, and College Board will have a webinar on Monday, April 6th to basically answer any more questions you may have. So remember the submission process because it's important now. Your students complete their performance task. They submit their work to the digital portfolio. The teacher can then look at the student's work that they submitted. And if we see any incorrect or corrupt files, we may return it to the student. Now, say the student submits it as final, that should be it, except for what I just previously spoke about. Okay, if you do not give feedback to the students, a student right now can say, hey, I want my performance tasks back that we completed back in November and December, and I want to rework them. And as long as you did not give them feedback, you can return the work if requested by the student. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Now, let's get to the good stuff. UTeach has provided materials license-free to prepare your students for the Create and Explore performance task. Like I said, Create performance task is worth 60% of their grade. Explore performance task is going to be worth 40% of their grade. You want to prepare them. So the link at the bottom of this slide, uteachpd.instructure.com/courses/473. If you want to go there right now and listen along while you watch this webinar, this is access. It's open to all teachers. You can also access our student materials, which is also open, license free. And we are providing 2 comprehensive instructional units. Now, all in all, we're providing 34 days of class materials, but they are easily adapted to whatever you need to fill. I was a New York City teacher. We need to keep teaching up until May 25th when this exam happens. School keeps going to June 30th. So I need a lot of lessons to fill that. But if you're a teacher and your school is ending within a month, I'm going to review just and highlight the key worksheets that you can download from our materials and then upload and use for your remote instruction. And the reason why these materials are great is because they are sequential, they are scaffolded, and they are also directly linked to College Board scoring guidelines. So what I would like to do right now is show you, this is the UTeach Create Task module that we provide. This module is, like I said, is 18 days long, but you can condense it down and just focus on the documents that I'm about to show you. Now, I have done a deep dive webinar into the Create and the Explore tasks. And if you just click up here on this tab, and after you download the slides, you'll be able to access those webinars and watch more information on how to use the whole module. But what I'm going to focus on right now is the key documents. So if I was to look at the Create Performance Task module provided by UTeach right now, license free, I would click on the Create Performance Task resource tab. And this is what opens up. And these are the resources that you would use to prepare your students so that they can complete the performance tasks. So the first document that I want to show you is this Create Performance Task planning document. Okay, and this document is wonderful because it starts off by making a foundation for your students to work. And what I like to focus on here is the minimum viable product. Your students are going to be pie in the sky. They're going to want to make like the coolest game ever. And then they're going to realize that they can barely make, a simple program. So we want to make sure that even though they have these pie in the sky dreams, what is a minimum viable product that they would have to produce in order to get a good score according to the scoring guideline? And this is why I'm saying these lessons are sequential. Okay, these documents are sequential. All right, and they're going to start with planning and take them all the way through to written submission. So this document is really cool. It shows them a storyboard about Mario Brothers, and then we move on to collaborative review document. And these documents can be downloaded from our Canvas learning management system and then uploaded to whether you use Google Classroom or Schoology or Blackboard or whatever you use. You can upload it to that. They're available to download as Word documents and PDFs. Now, this second document is great because even though the students are learning remotely, we want to make sure that they're still interacting. All right. And there should be some collaboration going on. So if you want to, you can pair up students remotely and then tell them that they need to fill out this document based on, their other students' planning document. And this is cool because it gives the students feedback. Now, as you can see, these documents, they're scaffolded and they're multiple points of entry so that all learners can use these. If you have a heterogeneous group of learners in your class, you can assign these and let the higher level learners move quicker through it and the lower level learners move slowly through it. Now, after this collaborative planning document, we have the daily reflection, and this is important because students are going to have to discuss the iterative design process. So they're going to need to keep a journal daily while they're working on this so that they can later go back and talk about the coding obstacles they faced and the development obstacles that they faced. So this is the third document for the Create Performance task that we're providing license-free for you to use. Now, we also have a purpose document, and this document is going to talk about the purpose of the program and about the video upload requirements. And I'm going through these rather quickly, but you can go through them on your own as well. Now, the next one we have is the development document. This is going to highlight the development process, and they have to talk about not only the coding problems they face, but the iterative process. During the development process, I ran into this hurdle. So after testing it out, it didn't work. We then went back, tried this process, and then tested that, and it didn't work. And then we went back, and so that's what they mean when they talk about the iterative design process, and that's all in document 5. Now, we also have 2 great documents next that do a deep dive into our algorithm and abstraction. And this is important because the students need to pick a super algorithm, as we like to call it, which is the algorithm that incorporates the 2 previous algorithms or the other 2 algorithms in their program. So this document is great for them to use because they would be using it, and then you'll know that their algorithm is going to be good according to the scoring guidelines provided by College Board. And we have a similar document for their abstraction, which talks about what their abstraction is doing and how is it managing complexity in their program. And the most important document, in my opinion, is converting these written handouts into their written submission. So your students might ask, why is it important that I have to do all these documents just to do my project? And here's why. Because if they do what you say, they can take the information they wrote on document 4 that I just showed you, the purpose document, and that's where they can use that information as their answer for 2A in the written submission prompt. On document 5, they can use the information from that document to fill in for 2B. And then you can see algorithm and abstraction can be used for 2C and 2D. So that's why it's important for your students to do all these documents. Now, for you, it's great because it's scaffolded and it's sequential. If you ask your students, where are you on your create task? They might be like, oh, I'm almost done. They don't know what it really entails. They might still just be starting out. This way you could say, hey, they've done document 4. They should be at this point in the project. Or, oh, they've completed their written submission. They should be done. Or, oh, they're talking about their abstraction. They're near the end. So that's why these documents are great to use in the classroom, even in a remote setting. You could just assign these every single day for your students to do, and then it would take them from start to finish. These modules are designed for the students to complete the performance task, not just like prepare for it, but to complete them. So now quickly, let me just show you the Explore performance test. They're very similar, the documents. We have a reference one, because don't forget, they're going to need to pick 3 references. And from those 3 references, they're going to have to choose 5 citations to use in their Explore Performance task. So this document helps them out. And you'll notice this recurring purple box. This is our common mistakes and tip box for the kids. It's so that they don't make the common mistakes, because our team, we're AP raters and readers, so we know the common mistakes that teachers are making, and we're letting the students know it in these purple boxes. So we start with our reference document. We then have a description document that talks about what their computing innovation is and how it functions. We then go into the benefits and harmful effects of their computing innovation, followed by the data, how it's produced, consumed, and transformed. And then the 5th document talks about the data security concerns. And then we have the artifact planning documents and the support for your artifacts. And this helps them with citations, which is important because, believe it or not, the lowest part of the scoring guideline on average is that they don't do citations properly. And then we have converting your handouts. Once again, if they do documents 2 and 7, they can use that in 2A. And if they do document 7, that'll be for 2B, and so forth and so forth. So this is really important. These are the license-free documents and worksheets that we are providing for all teachers to use, whether you're a licensed UTeach teacher or not. Now, just some quick tips for remote instructions. I just showed you. You can take our documents from our learning management system, which is in Canvas, download them, and then upload them into your own Google Classroom, Schoology, or whatever you use. Our documents are available in PDF form and Word docs. Still have your students collaborate remotely to debug their programs. It's an important part of the create task, and it makes it look like, you know, your students are still collaborating, even though they're in remote settings. Now, remember, you can use the worksheets I just showed you for them. You can use them as completion grades. In other words, as homeworks, do-nows, but you can't provide feedback on them. Okay? If you provide feedback on those forms, it's just like providing feedback to your students on the project, and that is not allowed. So please remember that. You can't provide feedback. You can use these documents as a way of tracing your students' progress or tracking your student progress, but you can't provide them feedback on what they're answering. All right, just a quick note, if you're a UTeach, if you are not a UTeach licensed teacher, and this is the first time you've heard of us, but you do teach CSP, we have a Department of Grants seed study where you as a teacher can get a $1,000 stipend. You get our curriculum for free for 2 years, and you get a summer PD online for 40 hours. This is a great opportunity. You see how comprehensive our modules are that we're providing for the Create Performance task and the Explore Performance task. We have those modules for 6 units for CSP. And if you would like to be access to that for free, please go to that bit.ly below. And if you qualify for our seed grant study, you can make $1,000, get our materials for 2 years, and get free PD. So if you have any questions for us, please contact us at the information below. It's been a pleasure of mine talking to you tonight. Even if you don't qualify for our seed grant study, please remember that, you know, you can always pay for our license, and you can also just email us and we can provide you more support and information about a license as well. Thank you and have a good night.